Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Cap, and welcome to the 12th episode of Outcasting, where I'm sharing bits of science towards freedom. And hopefully, you guys are all doing well. I've actually been under the weather for the last 4 days because of food poisoning, and I'm feeling a little bit better today. I'm trying to do this show, so hopefully, I make it all the way through. I mean, it's not going to be a long one. But I just kind of wanted to go over the last episode or the last couple episodes where I'm dealing with the circled dot. And this is such a important symbol to understand, and it's really all about finding clarity. So when you look at the middle point, this is where we are trying. This is, if you look at this symbol as where we are and where we're trying to get to, then we'll start to understand the point of life. Because one of the reasons why we are here is to get to the point, to get to the truth, because they're synonymous in that way, especially with this symbol. So what we do is we start out in the circle, because the circle represents the creative power in the universe, the sacred feminine. But it also represents, we start out in ignorance, and that's not a bad thing, but we don't want to stay there. We don't want to stay in the circle, the aimless circle. What we want to do is get to the point. We want to get to the point of life. We want to get to what is true, what is the truth. So to start out in the circle is to start out in darkness, and then we get to the point, which is light. So it's going from darkness and then becoming enlightened in degrees, of course, because the truth is that there is nobody who is the arbiter of truth. I'm not the arbiter of truth, and you're not the arbiter of truth. No one is, because the only way that anyone could be is if they were the creator of the whole universe itself. So therefore, it's about understanding that, for me, sharing this information, I'm not sharing this information to make the statement that I know it all, or that I have the totality of truth, or the totality of all there is to know, because that's not the truth. And no one can possess that. No human being, that is, can possess the totality of truth or knowledge. So, what I'm doing is sharing with you what I've arrived at, what I have learned and have found value in, and know that there is so much important information in learning how to discover truth, how to learn how to think better, how to learn how to communicate better, because that's what the trivium process is all about, getting to the truth, right? So the reason that people don't want to know the truth there's quite a few reasons, but the two biggest culprits are ego, which is fear, okay, because they're synonymous, really, and then responsibility. Nobody wants responsibility for what they know, and therefore that's why they don't really go on the journey to truth and or to discover truth. They don't really initiate themselves into that long, hard journey of love to discover truth. And one of the reasons, aside from ego, is that we have had a government program installed into our minds since we were babies, since before birth, really. But the point is to understand that this program was installed in there for a very simple reason, and that is control. And therefore, to control a people is to make them believe that the government and any institutions of the government, any paid voices, any paid politicians, any paid scientists, any paid teachers who are part of this government program that has been installed into our minds since we were little kids. These programs teach us that we have to believe in the legitimacy of authority of the people of this program. So therefore, anyone who speaks, who has fame and money and power, we look at them as the only people that could possibly have any form of truth. Because, we look at them as anyone who could actually know anything. And anyone who is opposite to that, anyone like me who doesn't have the fame, who doesn't have the money, who doesn't have the power, we look at people like me as the opposite of anyone who can know the truth. And that's because of this indoctrination. And I'm not, like I said, I am not an arbiter of truth. I'm not someone who possesses the totality of truth. I'm someone who simply is sharing information to help you awaken out of that control program that has been installed into you, into all of us since birth, and into most of us since birth. And because of this, because I am doing this, I am only doing this because I know it is the right thing to do, and I also know that if I don't speak up, if other people don't speak up about this type of information, how to discover truth and what truth is philosophically, scientifically, symbolically, well, if we don't speak up, then we all suffer in degrees, of course. And that means that if you stay ignorant, if I stay ignorant, if other people stay ignorant and do not speak up about how to discover truth, then we stay under control, therefore we suffer, and we are the supporters of suffering of others, whether we know that or not. And that is a very hard thing to wake up to, because nobody wants to be the reason that other people suffer. But once we start to awaken to this control system, this control matrix program that has been installed into our minds, then we start to realize, oh, I'm actually supporting and taking part in the suffering and the chains that are on others' hearts and minds. And this is a very, very, very powerful thing to wake up to, because it starts to help us recognize how to take our power back, how to think for ourselves, and start to really align to what is right and what is correct, what is true, and realize that it's not going to be somebody else that can tell us what the truth is, but for us to listen to those who are trying to help us discover truth and how to think and how to communicate better, so that way we can harmonize with each other and not live in disharmony, which is a form of separation. Because as you can see, our whole world is in a form of separation in the mind that we're manifesting outward towards each other. This is disharmony. So in order to harmonize, we have to learn principles. We have to learn how to understand truth. Because once we get to the truth individually, we will naturally, organically align in truth with each other. And that's really important to understand. And a lot of times, and I know I've said this before, but when I hear people say my truth or your truth, this is a form of disharmony. Whether we know that or not, whether you know that or not, doesn't matter, because to say my truth or your truth is an indication of well, there's two truths, right? Which means, there's not one truth, but there is only one truth, because you have to ask the question, well, if there's my truth and your truth, well, which one logically is the truth? Because we're trying to get to the ontological reality, the objective reality, the objective truth. What is the truth? And this is what we have to really ask ourselves and be honest about, because it's your unique journey that you're on. You're not on this journey to obey someone else's authority. You're here to recognize that truth itself is the authority. And that's very difficult to wake up to and to recognize and to acknowledge. But just like I taught about the trivium process, it's about learning how to think with logic, learning how to process things, to find the inconsistencies, to weed out the inconsistencies, to weed out what is not true, to find the truth. To find the dogma is to find the truth, because once we realize it's dogma, then we realize what the truth really is. And this is so, so important. And this is why we have to recognize that this control system does not serve us in our evolution as a human species, individually or collectively. So we have to recognize why this is so important. And one of the biggest reasons that most people do not go and search for truth is something that I'm going to get into on the next episode. So definitely stay tuned for that. And I feel like I'm feeling a little better by speaking, which is nice. But I don't think there's going to be a Cubbyhole episode this Friday, because I haven't been feeling well and I want to do it right, and I really want to spend time on it and do it well. So if you're looking for that this Friday, it won't be out this Friday. It'll be out next week. And if you want to learn more, just go to cubbyhole.com, start at podcast number 1, work your way forward. And also, if you want to follow me on Telegram, just find Outcasting with Nate Cap, and you can subscribe and check out my weekly posts and my videos that I share on there. And also, please share this information if you find value, because a lot of people don't really know this stuff because it's been hidden from us. And that's something else I'm going to get into as I go through these shows. But of course, you can go listen to the Cubbyhole and find out so much more about everything that I'm talking about. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the show there. And thanks for listening. See you guys soon.